because you've spent so much time in industry and in academia, which I think gives you a really unique perspective on this sort of topic. And of course, having launched your own company recently as well in Singapore. Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing from you about that whole experience and how that went. So yeah, whenever you're ready, you can get started.
Thanks so much, Luis.
Thanks.
I have been working in academia and industry both for several years, but it's not a good idea to jumping around actually. If you want to work in industry, then it's better to keep in the right path. So anyway, we have been run through several talks, so we have learned a lot from each other. So it's really my pleasure to close this series by presenting what I've been learned by registering a small company here in Singapore. Hopefully this talk will be helpful for you if you want to register a company here. So I think my slides will be divided in two parts. The first part, I would like to introduce how to do the registration in Singapore. Secondly, I'd like to share with you some routines to manage your company. Although it's a very small company, only myself here in Singapore, but still there is several things you have to take care of. By the way, this is also my first time to run a company in Singapore, so some of my informations or understanding could be wrong. So just give you a warning about that. So if you want to register company in Singapore, firstly, who can register one or incorporate one? Of course, for Singaporean PR, it won't be a problem. You can. There is no barriers or limitations, but for foreigners, actually, I would suggest you to find a register filing agent to help you to submit this application for you. Otherwise, although it's possible, later I will introduce it possible you can do it by yourself, but you need to take the risk that you may mess up the thing because there is really a few things to look into. So if you want to incorporate a company here, you not necessarily need to stay here in Singapore. But the thing is, if you want to run a company here, but you don't want to stay here in Singapore, you need to find a resident director. So the resident director, which means some people living in Singapore, even the EP holder, employment pass holder, is eligible to be a resident director. So I see that actually this thing is quite, it's not so difficult. If you want to, stay in Singapore, actually, and you are also a foreigner, actually could be more tricky because which means you want to live here and you want to work for a company. So the MOM, the manpower office in Singapore, you need to check your eligibility for a work pass here, or and also make sure you are covered by Medisave or other insurance. And finally, LTVP, if you know this, is a long-term visiting pass, cannot register company here. So before you register company, there are several things you need to consider. So the first thing is, of course, you have to get your IC and passport, any identification document ready. And then you need actually, it's better to apply a SIM-pass because later on you need to use SIM-pass to log in some government website to manage your company. Otherwise, your resident director will have one. Right? Actually, everybody can apply a SIM-pass as long as you have you are living here. So of course you need a company name. You can reserve the company name on the government website and check availability of a company name by this link. And if you pay $15, it will be reserved for you for 120 days. Then actually you may consider several types of company, but most of the people, I'm not going to introduce all types possible, all type of company that are possible here. But most people will go for this one, the PTE Ltd, which stands for private limited. So the private means the shareholder cannot, there is a ceiling for number of shareholders. And for limited, which means you have limited liability. I think nobody want unlimited liability because with limited liability, if you are unlucky, your company bankrupt, you will be protected basically. The partners, you need to sort out with your partners how to divide the share, and the shareholders, actually there is no limitation about shareholders. It can be any people in the world, around the world. And you also need to think about your business activities. This is because you need to provide this information when you are going to register the company, and also you have to be aware that for some of the business, for example, a lawyer company, you need some license, definitely. Or if you are going to sell some chemicals, then maybe you have to get some license to sell these chemicals, and you make sure you have a proper storage for the chemicals, for example. Okay, so another thing you need to consider is the secretary. The secretary actually is basically more difficult to find than the director, because director can be a EP holder, but the secretary normally will be PR, at least PR or Singaporean. But the thing is, although yourself could be a secretary, but normally you, in the end, you will actually find a secretary company to do the things for you. The secretary will basically keep and prepare several documents for your company and for the government. And in the year end, in the financial year end, you need an accountant to file the financial statement, but you can actually do it by yourself if you want. It's actually quite headache, but the thing is, but still it's possible to do it by yourself. But if there is too many transactions and too many types of transactions in your finance year, I would highly suggest you to hire one. And for auditor, actually, you don't need to care about this. For startups, you don't need to care about this, because most of the startups are exempt from auditing, because your one regulation is you will be exempt if your annual return is no more than 10 million. If you more than 10 million, if your company need auditing, congratulations to you. And shares, normally the shares will be 100 share if you're a small company. I don't think you need to issue more. So conventionally, people will allot $1 for each share, but it's also can allot 1 cent for each share. Still fine. There is actually no any requirements on amount of on the price of a share. It's just a symbolic purpose. So you need to sort out with your all other shareholders how you are going to do this, because the shares represent the power for management of a company. Then other things will be office or address. If you have the budget, you can rent one, and you also can use your home address as the office address. It won't be a problem. In recent years, the government allowed you use your HDB address as your company address. But the thing is, sometimes if you, for example, send email, then at the bottom of the email, the address is HDB, and probably it's not a good idea. It looks a little bit weird, which means your company is not a very formal company. So you may consider to pay a few money for a virtual office. There is several agents provide this kind of service, and you can also talk with secretary agent. They can provide this kind of service. Basically, they will just allow you use their address, and also they will forward the email, forward the mail to you. So during the registration, I would highly recommend you hire a secretary company, because firstly, it won't charge you much. Oh, sorry, the registration fee I put wrongly. It will be 800 to 2,000. 800 to 2,000. It cannot be 80,000. So the annual charge for a secretary company is around 800 to 3,000. Actually, I think 1,000 is quite reasonable price here for SMEs. They will provide a proper service, so I don't think you need to worry about that, because as I mentioned, that if you want to, they need the secretary company, they need to get a license from government before they register this kind of company. So their service, I think, should be professional. So you don't need to worry about the quality of their work for small companies. They will actually maintain all the documents for you. They will prepare the annual meeting for you, which I will discuss later. They will help you to do the registration or update any business information, like if your business address changed. They can do that for you with or without charge. Actually, you can do it by yourself through this website, which called the biz file. So through this biz file, you can actually register your company by yourself. They will charge around 300 Singapore dollar only. But if you go for a secretary, they will charge you at least 800. But I assure you that they still deserve to hire a secretary company, because you will have a secretary and they will help you to handle all the stuffs. And also you can modify your company details through this website. For example, if you want to change the company address or your main business activities, actually you can do it by yourself. You will need SIM-pass to log in to make the changes. And also, of course, you can also ask your secretary, because she's supposed to be your secretary. She's supposed to do the things to you, but normally they will charge. Maybe if you just want to change the address, it will charge you around $50, something like that, or 100, no more than $100, I guess. Actually, the registration will goes very fast. Should be within 120 days. Normally, 1 month is, I think it's more than enough. And there, if you really want to do it by yourself, you can look into this website, the BIS file, and also the guide from ACRA. ACRA is the Accountant Authority in Singapore. So once you have been successfully registered company, you will have several things. Firstly, you will have the UEN, which is very, very important for a company. It's like IC of your company, basically. So you, if you want to sell something or provide service and get some income, normally you need to prepare invoice, right? So on the invoice, you just put this number, that will be good enough. You don't need to signature, make a signature or a stamp, anything like that. Just this number will be good enough. And several documents you will get after registration. Like the most important thing is the business file. The next slide, I will show you what does this look like. And the company constitution, this is actually a standard one. You can download online, but the secretary will prepare this for you. And director resolution, if you have more than 1 directors, you need this. And the register of secretaries. You don't need audit, you don't need the accountant, but you definitely need a secretary. Then from the, you can, yeah, I mentioned you can update details and request some information from BIS file. For example, if you want to know the shares of other companies, possible to purchase this kind of information from BIS file. And you need a bank account because you are going to run a business. So this will be a business bank account, so won't be a private one, definitely. Normally, the monthly charge will be around $10 or $20, something like that. And there is a minimum amount to keep in your account. This ranges depends on the banks. I think currently for OCBC, at least you have 3,000 in your account is fine. Otherwise, it will charge you around additional $50 or $30 every month from your account. And you probably need a stamp. I think sometimes, I think a stamp make your document looks more official. But as mentioned just now, actually UEN is pretty much enough. And you may consider have websites. This is the cost will be like this, and the logo. For websites, if you want to design by yourself, I think it's fine. If you want to ask others to design, for small company, I think should be less than 2,000. By the way, for our own company, it's designed by Alexei himself. So we didn't hire anybody to do that for us. So this is an example of a business profile, which actually including most important information of your company, the UEN, your company name, and your main activities, something like that. So this is the most important of file for your company. And to run a company, to be frank, for my company, my company, I don't have much to do. So probably I have very little experience to share with you. But the most important thing is to do the bookkeeping. If you are selling something like, for example, chemicals, so the transaction would be like daily based. So the bookkeeping will be very, very important. Otherwise, it will be messed up in the end of the year. You may consider to buy a software or a bank, your bank may provide this kind of service, but normally it's not free, I think. And you can just simply prepare, use the Excel file to do the bookkeeping. That's actually what I'm doing now, because for my company, I don't have much transaction basically. So, so what you need to include in bookkeeping is you should include several things. The first, basically two parts. The first part is the profit and loss, which means how many you earn, how much you expend for your business activity, and also the a balance sheet to basically summarize what your financial status. Actually, this part of work could be very troublesome. If you have a lot of transactions, you have to keep all this data properly on daily basis, and you have to keep these documents properly. A suggestion is all the original documents, for example, the invoice you issued and the invoice you received if you purchase something, should be kept at least for at least 7 years. So you really need to keep it properly, because just in case some lawsuit or whatever, or audit in future. And the tips is, I would suggest you do it at least every month, and make sure it's consistent with your bank statement, which means the balance should be, the number in the balance should be the same with the balance on your bank account. That sounds reasonable. And must make a clear line between your business expense and the personal ones. You may be curious about this point, but actually several things is legal, is allowed to actually to claim from the company. For example, if you have a dinner with your customer, actually it's fine to claim from your company, because it's considered as a business activity. So sometimes probably some people will mess up with the business expense and the personal expense. And if you are selling something or doing some provide some service, as you know, you have to run through this process. Basically, you need, if you got the right customer, then they will ask for a quotation. You have to issue a quotation. You have once you get the purchase order, you need to issue an invoice, and the deal probably will provide some service. You need have a contract with them. And this is an example of tax invoice, which I actually copied from IRAS. Actually the quotation invoice are very similar, have a similar format. I think the only difference is the title. You just replace the tax invoice with quotation, you will have a quotation. The most important thing is the UEN. As long as you have UEN, it will be they will take it as an official document from your company. So other things, like I think including marketing and looks for funds and HR management, for me, I don't need, because I'm myself here. So I really don't have much to share with you. I think you just, for marketing, you just directly approach the customer by either email or call them or participate some conventions. Sometimes you security company, because they are serving for a lot of companies, other companies, so they have that kind of community there. So they may provide these kind of activities for networking. And for looking at fonts, I think Vishwa has has introduced this part in last week. Yeah, we have the most famous one, I think, is Startups SG, but they require your full-time commitment normally, and you need to match some money for their fund. For research fund, I think it's better to collaborate with local agent like A-STAR or some universities or research institutes or even Polytech. In Polytech, we do have a lot of research in Polytech. And venture capital, I would suggest you to watch the video of Vishwa. And in the year end, there also will be the headache part. In the year end, you have to prepare several things for your secretary company. So they will take this information and web up and get up to the government. Basically, the BIS file. The BIS file will manage this, and also the ACRA, they will manage this, and also the IRAS, they will check whether you need to pay tax or not. So you have to consider about the taxing. Unfortunately, bad news is actually, I think 3 or 5 years ago for startups, the first 3 years, no tax at all. But starting from last year, I guess, the policy changed. The first year, you at least need to pay for 25%. I think that, I'm not sure. I think the number is right. I remember the tax is 17%. But you can click this link to verify. I think it could be right. 25% for the first 100,000 income. But anyway, as long as you get some income, which means, I mean, as long as you make some profit, income means profit. It doesn't mean that how many money you earn from the customer, but you earn the money from a customer, but you also spend a lot by running the business, right? So this income really means profit. If you got some profit, of course you need to pay tax. So yeah, if your income number exceeding this, well, that will be super nice. I think we won't complain about tax anymore. And a good news is, starting from 2019, if you are R&D based company, you are basically totally tax-free. I'm not sure I'm not sure the meaning of this. It's more than 100. I'm not sure. Does this mean they will pay more money to you? I'm not. I haven't figured out this. But the thing is, you need to prepare an application. You need to file application or prepare some document to the IRAS to confirm to show that you are R&D based company. Actually, there is several examples there. If you click this link here, for previously approved applications, I think this seems not very difficult. They just tell IRAS what you are going to do, and if it is related with high technology, you stand a strong chance to get approved. Another public good thing is there is no tax on dividend to shareholders, and this link shows you how to calculate your tax. So another very troublesome thing is you need to prepare the AGM. You have to have AGM. So basically, for AGM, it's still okay, because the secretary will supposed to give you several templates you can follow. So the AGM, which means annual general meeting, which at each year the shareholders will have a meeting together to discuss basically the finance statement, which means how much you earn, how much you lose. I think that's the main thing. So before you host the AGM, I think 2 weeks before, this is the rule. 2 weeks before you host the AGM, you have to send a notice of AGM to all the shareholders. So 2 weeks later, you will have the AGM. During COVID, it can be virtual. Actually, all the shareholders will run through the finance statement prepared by a CEO, if you have one, or director, basically yourself, and to resolve on several other things, like if you want to if there is a new shareholder join in, or if you want to, for example, change any policies in your company or change your company names, then you have to basically vote for the decisions. So in the end, you have director's resolution and AGM minutes. The most troublesome thing is the finance statement. But if you did your bookkeeping properly every month, every day, this will be less troublesome. And another way is you hire an accountant. I think they will provide a lot of suggestions on this. Basically, the transactions over the year. So the advantages and disadvantages to register a company in Singapore, I think there is some more advantages. Because Singapore, is at the very special location in the world. It serves as the interface between East and West. You can find lots of Westerners, and also a lot of people speak Chinese, Tamil, Malay here. So it's one of the advantages for Singapore. And the service here are always reliable professionals. So we can always find some professionals for either law service or business. But the downside is that you have to pay. The service charge normally is not cheap. And good infrastructure, hardware and software, like the investment and safety-friendly society. The only bad thing is the market is too small. You may not find a lot of customers. Depends on what your business activity. But anyway, this is just a tiny island. I think the best thing is you probably a good plan is you set up in Singapore, can read it through Asia or internationally. So I think I have been talked a lot. I just want to quickly wrap up with what we have run through. In past half years, I think it's quite accessible. We have been hosting 8, including myself, 9 talks, starting from Nick, talking about the ecosystem of Singapore. Just our talks are matching with each other, you can see. And the several commercialization experience we've been learned, and how to commercialize your products, how to get funds, and how to file patent, or whether you need to file patent. Yeah, and also in previous week, we have very interesting talk about the culture meet. Okay, that's all. Thanks for your attention, and questions are always welcome. And actually, me and Nick are planning for next series. Probably later on, Nick, you can discuss about what we are going to do for next half years. And looking forward to see you in next series. And here I would like to especially thank Luis, who have been helped us a lot to organize the thing, and also the support from CARES. Joy. Yes, that's it.
Thank you very much, Zhen. Yeah, I really enjoyed your talk. It was really practical in terms of the day-to-day running of a startup, which, yeah, I know that I would definitely not be prepared for if I started one. So it was great to hear what you really have to do every day to keep it going.
Jen, I think it was good. You know, it was really good real talk about what you need to actually do, and what you need to actually learn. And it's not, this is something researchers never learn in school. We don't have any business courses. So once you start throwing the acronyms around, like the ACRA and this AGM, like what do you have to do? It's like, it's a lot to take in sometimes. So I think these slides are very helpful and will probably be very helpful on the intranet.
Absolutely.
For anyone, because it's like a very good condensed summary of what actually goes on. So yeah, I thought it was good. And of course, there's other policies for other countries. So like, for example, in the UK,
I think it's different.
I don't think there's so many requirements. Like to have an AGM, it's not required.
Oh, really? That saves a lot of trouble. Yes.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the company, of course, and everything, but it's more, it's defined in the constitution, right? So
Okay.
Yeah,
I was going to ask Nick about your company because you're UK registered, right?
yeah.
I think that overall it would be slightly less paperwork and less admin than a Singapore company.
Well, I haven't done too much paperwork yet. I think it depends on the type of company you have and how many expenses you have and everything.
And staff
I think
as well.
for I think probably when you get to a decent sized company like 10 people and you're actually doing business, probably it's the same amount of paperwork. But for just starting out, to just register something, I think it's a bit cheaper in the UK. You just basically register and it's...
So you did it by yourself, or you
yeah, we just did it by ourselves. I mean, no, actually we did it through a company, but it was like £100 or something.
Okay. So there is no annual charge like the secretary company here in Singapore.
I'm the secretary right now. So
yeah, in Singapore it's also possible. The thing is you have to prepare lots of constitutions, AGM. Wow, it's crazy.
Lots of paperwork. But like, I mean, you have a year to do it or a year and a half to do it. So I'm like, I don't mind.
Yeah, those I would say the company secretary is very common for Hong Kong. So I believe that Singapore just copied the style of the company running from Hong Kong.
Yeah, kind of, it's more formal, it seems.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually the government doesn't care about you because in the end you will not pay tax. They just every year you receive a letter like, oh, you don't have any income, you don't need to pay any tax.
Yeah, and then here, you have to do this VAT registration, and that's a separate process as well. So
is that only if your company brings in over a certain amount per year?
Yeah, so I think if you start making money, then the government cares and makes you file their paperwork. If you don't make money, it's okay. It's all right.
It's the same here. I think if you make more than 75,000 Australian dollars per year, then you have to register for GST.
Right.
But under that, you don't have to pay any taxes, which is great.
Yeah, that sounds better in Singapore. Yeah, Singapore, I think in the 3 years or 5 years before, you don't need to pay for any tax for the first 3 years. But now I don't know why they start to charge you. But seriously, it's actually very difficult to make any profit.
I haven't tell about the big disadvantage in Singapore is supply chain. Yeah, it's really, I would say, it's really inconvenient. I mean, so you can look at our laboratory when we're having like all the reagents delivering like months. So yeah, maybe for the software company it doesn't matter. Yeah, I think the computer and those how to say consumables you can easily.
Yeah, consumables is
source around.
fine. The thing is for chemicals, you know.
Yes.
Singapore is definitely a small market. There's not much request, so a lot of chemicals are not in stock. Yeah, that's why chemical is very special.
Yeah, that's true.